A very good evening and welcome. This is Newsfirst Primetime News here on TV1, bringing you the news for the Newsfirst team. I am Simon Ratnayaka. Today is the 20th of November 2023. Your headlines are up next.
Awesome Australia beat India to win their 6th ICC Cricket World Cup crown. Water levels of reservoirs rise following heavy rainfall. People advised to exercise caution. Medical Supplies Division workers arrested over the supply of substandard human immunoglobulin. Sanjay Mahawata, who visited the CID to inquire into fake medicine probe, arrested. Namal comments on the court ruling that found Rajapaksa's involvement in leading the country to bankruptcy. Will the SLPP vote for the president's budget that deviates from SLPP policies? Questions GL.
Bang! He'll come back for two. And Australia win the World Cup for the 6th time and in front of 120,000 people. They've upstaged the home team in magnificent fashion.
Champions, one and all.
We start off tonight's bulletin with a story that the entire cricketing fraternity is talking about. Pat Cummins's team pulled off the biggest World Cup final performance in 3 decades as Travis Head belted one of the great tons in the tournament's history to lead Australia to a remarkable 6-wicket victory and ruin India's cricketing coronation. The MTV-NBC network brought all the action of the 2023 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup, including the final, over a span of 48 days, fulfilling its responsibility as the official local television and radio broadcast rights holder of cricket's biggest contest.
The MTV-NBC network decided to take the leap and secure the official local broadcasting rights of such a massive sporting event at a time when the country was undergoing a very challenging period in order to bring some form of relief for the people of Sri Lanka. The MTV-NBC network shouldered this mammoth task, casting aside all challengers in order to bring an international level experience to the people of Sri Lanka, who are closer to cricket than any other sport. We at the MTV-NBC network brought the action of 48 matches of the 2023 ICC Cricket Men's World Cup, starting from the 5th of October via TV1 and www.sirasatv.lk. At the same time, we joined with TNL for a simulcast of all the matches, enabling more and more Sri Lankans to live every moment of the action from the 2023 ICC Cricket Men's World Cup. We would like to especially thank Sri Lanka's first privately owned television channel, TNL, for this purpose. At the same time, we managed to carry the action to towns and villages across the country via the airwaves of YFM, the official radio broadcast rights holder of the 2023 ICC Cricket Men's World Cup. We would like to thank all the sponsors who joined hands with us and also Sri Lanka Cricket. It is our belief that the Sri Lankan cricket team, which dedicated itself to the victory of the motherland by facing the challengers to the best of its ability, even when many players were suffering from injuries, will return to their form as soon as possible and bring back smiles to the die-hard cricket fans of the country. We brought you all the match details of the tournament held in India with the participation of 10 teams along with the analysis of cricket experts. Cricket experts Sanat Jayasuriya, Mava Nathapattu, Chaminda Bas, Avishka Gunawardana, Dhammika Prasad, Tharanga Parnavithana, Malinda Varnapura, Anusha Samaranayaka, Roshan Abesingha and Shripali Veerakodi brought the expert views and analysis from the Stein Studios in Ratmalana that is equipped with state-of-the-art facilities. Former Sri Lanka cricketer Lasith Malinga joined the discussions via Zoom, while Azam Amin, a journalist with expert knowledge about cricket, shared insights with us from India. The analysis was brought to you from Stein Studios through the technical strategies of Stein Gridline Vision and Stein Steer Track Pro. Julia Sonali, Vindana Prasad Karunaratna, Imesh Sutherland, Jeffrey Jebadarshan and staff from Stein Studios and the Depanama main control room staff contributed to this massive effort, including the regulars on screen and behind the scenes. We are ready to bring the action and the excitement of such mega sports events closer to you in the future.
That we move on to weather-related news. The Department of Irrigation has warned that flooding may occur in the Dewlapitiya, Mirigama, Katana, Vennappur and Dankotua areas after the upper and central regions of the Maha Oya Basin experienced heavy rainfall. At the same time, the flood warning issued for the Daduru Oya Basin was extended to Tuesday. Engineer SPC Sugishwara, the Director of Hydrology and Disaster Management at the Department of Irrigation, said people living in those areas must exercise caution.
Many roads in the Giriulla town were flooded after the Maha Oya overflowed following heavy rainfall. Vehicular movement was disrupted as a result. Around 30 families have been displaced in the Uttaravat area in Badalgama after the Kuda Oya and Maha Oya overflowed. The Valimannathota Paragammana road in Bulatkohupitiya Kegol was flooded as well. Many houses, shops and other buildings were inundated and transportation was also disrupted. Multiple areas in Kuliyapitiya, including Dummala Surya, Shantigama, Thuntota and Kattimahana were affected by heavy rains. Newsfirst correspondent said that houses and roads were flooded. The Sellakataragama sacred grounds were flooded after the Mahavali river overflowed. All spill gates of the Mahakanadarava reservoir in Anuradhapura were opened due to rising water levels. At the same time, the Mihintale to Kanadarava road via Rambava was completely inundated. All spill gates of the Kalawava were opened during the weekend and the water is released to the Kalaoya. As a result, the Kalawava to Thambuttegama road was completely flooded from the Aukna bridge. 8 spill gates of the Rajangania reservoir have been opened, resulting in the complete inundation of the Rajangania Giribaba road. All spill gates of the Dadaroya remain open since the weekend and the water is released to the Dadaroya. A man who was carried away by strong currents in the Keselgamu Oya was rescued by the locals.
Water levels of several main rivers in the country have risen. Several reservoirs have exceeded spill level. The rate of releasing water can fluctuate based on the rainfall received. Therefore, there is a high possibility of water levels rising in rivers and river branches. The people must exercise caution. It is wise to refrain from swimming and canoeing along rivers and waterways.
Transportation along the Bibila-Lunugala road located on the A5 Badula-Chenkaladi road was disrupted from the 31st kilometre post in Aravakumura after a massive boulder fell onto the road. Operations are underway to remove the earth and debris that blocked the Valimada-Badula road from the Puhulpula area. An earth embankment collapsed on a building of the Sri Mangalarama temple in Valimada during a heavy downpour. A tree uprooted and fell onto a bus in Vidurupula, Valimada, causing massive damages. The landslide red alert issued for the Galigamur, Aranayaka and Kegol divisional secretariats in the Kegol district remains in effect. In addition, landslide early warnings were also issued for several areas in the Badulla, Kandy, Kegol, Kurunagala, Matara, Ratnapura, Hambantota and Matale districts. At a time the country's main lakes and reservoirs are spilling over, 63.02% of Sri Lanka's electricity supply is provided by the main hydropower plants. These are yesterday's statistics. 14.86% of electricity has been obtained from thermal power plants. Former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, Janaka Ratnayaka, said providing hydropower, which is produced at a very low cost to the people at an excessive rate, and conducting maintenance work at the Norotcholi and Kalanithisa power plants is a scam.
From the start, the CEB said only 3,500 gigawatt hours can be obtained from hydropower this year. I said this situation is wrong from the start. Based on our estimates, the amount increases to 4,500 gigawatt hours because the CEB had generated 3,258 gigawatt hours of electricity using hydropowers as of yesterday. Within the next 40 days, around another 900 gigawatt hours is due to be added to the capacity. Accordingly, the electricity capacity generated using hydropower will exceed 4,500 gigawatt hours this year. That is why we were of the stance that electricity tariffs should not be increased. So is it now proven that increasing electricity tariffs by twofold this year was unfair? 2 units of the Noracholi power plant have been shot down, and the power plant that generates power at a low cost using naphtha has been shot down. Within the next 1.5 months, the CPC produces furnace oil at the refinery, and it is forcing the CEB to purchase the furnace oil. The additional amount they are getting will be used to purchase furnace oil from CPC as an emergency purchase from a private institution to increase the electricity capacity.
4 employees at the Medical Supplies Division of the Ministry of Health were arrested as part of the ongoing investigation in the supply of substandard human immunoglobulin. They were remanded until the 29th of November.
Police spokesperson SSP Nihal Thaldu was speaking to Newsfirst said that 4 employees at the Medical Supplies Division of the Ministry of Health were arrested by the CID. 2 assistant directors, an accountant and storekeeper attached to the Medical Supplies Division were thus arrested. The CID is continuing its investigations. A protest was held opposite the Medical Supplies Division this evening against the arrests. In Parliament, it was revealed that a key person involved in this act has left the country.
The Maliga Kanda Magistrates Court issued a travel ban against 9 people over the human immunoglobulin incident. We are now told that Dr. Jayantha, who was in the technical committee for human immunoglobulin, has left the country. I'm not sure of what will become of the other 8 people.
Several activists visited the Criminal Investigations Department to inquire as to why the former health minister and other corrupt individuals were not arrested over the supply of substandard human immunoglobulin. They also wanted to know the progress made by the CID in its investigation. However, when activist Sanjay Mahavatta decided to smash a coconut opposite the CID premises as a mark of protest, he was arrested by the Sri Lanka police.
මොකක්ද කරන්නේ මෙයා මට මැඩම් දුවා ඩිරෙක්ටර් මහත්තයාත් සායි කරාගින්නකොද සාකච්ඡා මං කිව්වා ඒව ඔක්කොම සූදානම් කරලා තියෙනවා පොලිසියෙන් කරන්න ඕනේ මැඩම්ලගේ අදහස් ඕන දෙයක් කියන්නේ ඒක අපි ඉදිරියට යමු කියලා ඒ කිසි දෙයකට සූදානමක් දුන්නේ ඔක්කොම මැඩම්ලාලා මීඩියා එකක් හදාගෙන මෙතන දඟලනවා එහෙම කරන්න එපා යන්න යන්නද හැමදේම හොරාගෙන
When everything has been looted by the politicians and now the people's blood is also being stolen, who are we to tell these two?
අපි කාටද මේක කියන්නේ
What has the CID been doing all this time under the guise of investigations? Why can't they be expedited? All we want is for these to be hurried up and resolved.
Later, he was released on bail by the Fort Police. However, he was arrested once more. Sri Lanka police said that he was arrested as per an order given by the Homagama Magistrates Court. The mechanism to provide quality medication to patients in Sri Lanka via the country's health ministry started to collapse with one particular incident that led to controversy. On the 9th of July 2021, a total of 5,623 files of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority or the NMRA that were stored on the Lanka government cloud were deleted. On the 13th of September 2021, Sri Lanka's Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris informed the Colombo court that the deletion of data from the country's NMRA database is the result of a conspiracy hatched by the medicine mafia that illegally generated revenue by importing medicines and medical devices. Following this incident, the concerns started to mount over the entire medicine supply process, as well as on the quality and credibility of the medicines and medical devices made available to the public. It is not a secret that this situation eventually cost the lives of many patients, while scores more were left with long-term implications. It was after the NMRA data deletion that incidents about loss of life and visual impairment started to surface. The allegations surrounding fraud and corruption linked to the medical supply process overwhelmed the entire Ministry of Health. The reach of the medicine mafia that illegally generated revenue by importing medicines and medical devices and their conspiracy on illegally earning money is being exposed with the arrest of many at top positions in the Ministry of Health. The mechanism to provide. In recent days, Newsfirst revealed many reasons that led to the collapse of the Sri Lankan economy based on the ruling delivered by the country's apex court. Tonight, we bring you more revelations.
Quoting the ruling of the Supreme Court, Newsfirst recently pointed out that the main reason for the collapse of the country's economy was that in April 2020, the country missed out on an opportunity to access over $160 million from the International Monetary Fund, a facility that was agreed upon during the reign of the government of good governance. As per the content of the ruling, it is clear that Professor W.D. Lakshman, who was appointed to the post of Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka by then-President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, later had to resign from the post as a result of two finance ministers refusing to accept an expert's view on the country's economy. These two finance ministers are Mahinda Rajapaksa and Basil Rajapaksa. After Professor Lakshman stepped down, Ajit Niwad Cabral was appointed as the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka the very next day. 84 days later, he had submitted a report to then Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa. It added that continuous reliance on the central bank to honour payment obligations on essential imports has caused a severe stress on gross official reserves, which have already declined to a critical level at present, with inadequate coverage for upcoming debt servicing or to finance essential imports. It further noted that urgent attention of the government is crucial to resolve the foreign currency liquidity issues faced by the state banks as well as the entire economy in order to prevent a banking and a sovereign default in the immediate future. Ajit Niwad Cabral, having set out these factors, had also highlighted several avenues to solve the country's declining reserves, and one of it was the monetization of underutilized and non-strategic state assets. It is also interesting to note that Cabral had expressed the view that the situation may not have arisen if envisaged inflows to the government, such as the monetization of identified assets, including the Keravalapitia power plant, the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port, etc., were realized. The Supreme Court ruling also highlights a decision that was taken by the Monetary Board of Sri Lanka on the 8th of December 2021, a day before Ajit Niwad Cabral submitted the said report. It notes that the Monetary Board at its meeting on the 8th of December 2021 has granted its approval to proceed with the disposal of gold on a staggered basis and had predicted the maximum amount that could be derived from disposal of gold would be $350 to $400 million. Ajit Niwad Cabral, in his next report to Basil Rajapaksa, dated 31st December 2021, had drawn the attention to the critical level to which gross official reserves had depleted and had projected the foreign currency debt service payments for 2022 to be $7.3 billion, which includes repayment of ISB of $500 million in January 2022. Details tomorrow.
ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ 29 වන වගන්තියට අනුව රජයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් අධිකරණය හමුවේ අභියෝග.
According to Article 29 of the Constitution, we have a reservation as to whether a government policy can be challenged in court, because the matter was approved in the Cabinet, presented to Parliament, debated and passed unanimously. On a later date, a matter regarding the VAT percentage was presented to Parliament and passed through a vote. None of the political parties opposed the reduction of taxes back then. Honourable Speaker, if an individual or a group should be held accountable for this, all 225 who passed it in Parliament should be held responsible. Paying off $500 million in debt is now viewed as a fault, but the bankruptcy is okay. The decision of approaching the IMF or not is a government policy. It is a political matter. There will be proponents and opponents of the IMF. How can you justify when we should seek assistance from the IMF or not? It cannot be done. This country has been pushed to a state where no government can make a policy decision. Slashing taxes is a fault, and raising taxes might also be seen as a fault one day. Therefore, this House needs to decide, will it uphold Article 29 of the Constitution, or will it be delegated to another faction? Let us present a proposal on it in Parliament, pass it and empower the relevant institutions. If a policy decision by the government is being challenged, that fact should be considered by the House. We wish to state very clearly that we respect court rulings, but we will seek legal assistance.
ඉදිරි කාල සීමාව තුළ තීන්දුවක් ගත යුතුයි කියලාත් මම විශ්වාස කරනවා. අපි පැහැදිලිව කියනවා අපි අධිකරණ තීන්දුව වලට ගරු කරනවා. ඒ සඳහා අපි නීති උපදෙස් පතනවා.
මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කිව්වා මේ
The MP mentioned that everyone in Parliament approved the slashing of taxes. That is inaccurate. I checked the Hansard and the opposition has opposed it.
නඩු තීන්දුවේ කියන්නේ
The court ruling suggests that there was a delay in seeking assistance from the IMF. The IMF should have been approached much earlier, is what it says.
තමයි ඒක කියලා තියෙන්නේ.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට වැරදිච්ච එක දැන තමයි අපි ප්‍රකාශ කරා.
One thing Gotabaya Rajapaksa got wrong and even flagged was following the advice of certain officials. He worked on his own accord without heeding our concerns. The allegations against Mahinda Rajapaksa are a national crime, regardless of whether it is spoken in court or elsewhere.
මේ රටේ වෙනත් තැනක හරි එතුමා ගැන කතා කරනවා නම්
රාජපක්ෂවරු යුද්ධය අවසන් කිරීම නිසා පරිගැනීමක යෙදෙනවා නෑ.
Many believe revenge is being exacted on the Rajapaksas because they ended the war. No, this is happening because they ended the war but looted the country. The nexus of the Supreme Court decision is that the country's economy collapsed due to the failure to make timely decisions concerning the economy. From 2015 to 2019, Sri Lanka's ISB purchases have aggregated to $12.5 billion. This has become a main factor of the country's foreign debt crisis.
ආර්ථික අර්බුදයේ විදේශ ණය ගෙවා ගැනීම මතු අර්බුදයේ ප්‍රධානම කොටසක් බවට පත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
මේ රට
This country was pushed towards bankruptcy. It was not a natural occurrence. The court itself has answered the question of who is responsible for it. The law must be tightened on them. The people expect a decision beyond the initial ruling.
What actions will be taken following the Supreme Court ruling against those who led the country to bankruptcy? Here's Sri Lanka's Justice Minister commenting on the matter.
මූල්‍ය බලය තිබෙන්නේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ.
The ruling is one that was delivered when the fundamental rights of the citizens enshrined in the Constitution are violated. There is a certain degree of value to it and it cannot be challenged. The court has not gone beyond its scope to deliver a verdict and the ruling was delivered within the jurisdiction of the court. Power of finances lies with the Parliament. However, if the funds are used in a fraudulent and corrupt manner, in a manner that leads to a collapse of the economy, that is something done by the executive. The executive is subject to the rulings of the court. If necessary, the President and the Cabinet have the power to appoint a special presidential commission, and if that commission recommends that these people have committed serious offences in terms of fraud and corruption, it can be presented to the Parliament and thereafter the civic rights can be revoked for 7 years. That can be moved to Parliament as per a Cabinet memorandum. It can be passed in the Parliament via a 2/3 majority.
ඒ වගේ දෙයක් සම්මත කරන්න බලය තිබෙනවා.
The Chinese President's Special Envoy Shen Yi-kin, who is currently in Sri Lanka, met President Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
The meeting was held at the President's office this morning and a delegation flagging the Shen Yi-kin was also present at the occasion. According to the President's media division, the primary focus of the meeting was to enhance tourism and trade relations between the two countries. President Wickremesinghe had expressed gratitude for China's support to Sri Lanka, notably acknowledging China's assistance to the country's debt restructuring program. The release by the PMD also states that President Wickremesinghe had noted that countries such as Sri Lanka, participants in the Belt and Road Initiative, are prepared to embark on the second phase of the initiative, which is expected to make a more substantial economic contribution. During the meeting, Shen Yi-kin had reaffirmed China's enduring support to Sri Lanka.
Fitch Ratings said that rising gold-backed lending among Sri Lanka's finance and leasing companies sector is exposing financiers to higher collateral price risk and making them more susceptible to any adverse movements in gold prices.
Fitch said that Sri Lankan FLCs have grown gold-backed loans rapidly in the past several years amid shrinking demand for their core vehicle financing business. Gold-backed loan balances more than quadrupled between the financial year ending March 2019 and 2023, raising its share in the sector's gross loans to 18% from 4% at end of financial year 2019. Fitch believes that several factors have fueled this trend, including rising demand for shorter-term financing from borrowers, relatively high product yields, and the liquid nature of gold collaterals that allows lenders to recover defaulted facilities through regular auctions. Fitch said that excess concentration in gold-backed loans could leave some FLCs prone to large-tailed risks of devaluations, especially if collateral haircuts are insufficient to protect them from any sudden and precipitous price fall.
Mr. Prasanna Ranatunga filed an application with the Court of Appeal seeking that the suspended prison term imposed by the Colombo High Court be made void and he be acquitted and released. The Court of Appeal decided to call for the application on the 27th of November. The application by Minister Prasanna Ranatunga was called up in the presence of Justices Sampath Abekon and P. Kumaran Ratnam. Prasanna Ranatunga was sentenced to 2 years rigorous imprisonment by the Colombo High Court over the case filed against him in connection with the alleged conspiracy to extort 64 million rupees from a businessman to reclaim a swamp. The sentence was suspended for 5 years and ordered to pay a fine of 25 million rupees by the Colombo High Court, and he was also ordered to pay 1 million rupees in compensation to the prosecution. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga filed an application with the Court of Appeal seeking that the suspended prison term imposed by the Colombo High Court be made void and he be acquitted and released.
As the Gum at the Door-to-Door program continues for a 14th day, our teams met people from all walks of life. These courageous people are engaged in a constant struggle for daily survival, putting on hold their dreams for a brighter tomorrow.
මම තරහටම අත්හල් තමයි ඉන්නේ. මේ දෙන්න එක්කෙනෙක් කරේ තියාගෙන අම්මා උඩට දාලා එක්කෙනෙක් බිම තියලා කරේ ගිහින් තියලා අනිත් එක්කෙනා අරගෙන උඩ නගිනවා. හන්දේ පහ විතරනකොට පහ මාර විතරනකොට අර නගිනවා.
This father is from the Godaulpatha village in Veheragala, Mathale. Although he doesn't have a large crop to protect, they go up to the treehouse when it gets dark every day to survive another night and to protect their children from elephants encroaching on their houses. There is not a big difference between his house and the treehouse. The treehouse only lacks the 4 clay walls. The mothers of the Godaulpatha village also make great sacrifices for their children. These mothers help the children of the village cross over the Arambeala that does not have a bridge. 12 kilometers to Hettipola, but it is only a short distance if they can cross over in this manner.
අතනම කාපට් මෙතනම කාපට් මෙතන අකරබ්බේ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම වැඩක් වෙලා නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒකෙන්ද මෙතනින් පාලම සිදුකොලා දුන්නා මාත් අපි මොන දෙයකටත් පහසුයි.
The lives of the people living in the Anattagoda village in Katuwana Tangol is crushed by cinnamon. Middlemen who come to the village decide the price of cinnamon and the fate of their lives. This is Pradeep Kumar.
අපිට මේ දැන් කුරුඳු කර්මාන්තනේ අපි කරන්නේ ඒක. ඒ රස්සාව කරලා ඉවරලා අපිට කොහොමවම මේ ජීවත් වෙන්න තරම් අමාරු තත්ත්වයක වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපේ කිසිම දෙයක ළමයිට උගන්න ගන්න බෑ. මේ දරුවෝ දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවා ඉගෙන ගන්න. ඒකට මේ දෙන්නට පන්ති සල්ලි ගෙවා ගන්න බෑ. ඉස්කෝලේ යවන පොට්ටි කරන් දෙන්න බෑ. ගෙදර කෑම ගෙනාවුත් පොට්ටි කදෙන්න කරලා.
Every single person in this village had similar stories. The Gum at the team also visited the Mawathugoda village in Okevela. This bridge was destroyed in the recent floods. These people put their lives at risk every day to cross over to the other side. This is 70-year-old Mari Algaraja. The Gum at the Door-to-Door team in Batiklo met him in the Sami Malay village in Manmune. He sacrificed his whole life to give rise to this country. But what he got in return was tragedy. The Gum at the team listened to his story. He was attacked by an elephant while going to the field. He only regained consciousness after 3 days. Sami Malay means the mountain of the gods. These people ask if only the gods will listen to their problems. The Gammadda teams are ready to go to many more villages to meet the people tomorrow as well.
Gammadda, made in Sri Lanka.
On the 20th of November 1989, 34 years ago, world leaders came together in a rare moment of unity for the children of the world. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted as a promise to every child to protect and fulfill his or her rights. UNICEF representative for Sri Lanka, Christian Skoog, made a statement on the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Sri Lanka needs to spend smartly, and investments in the youngest children yield the highest returns. Evidence on child development and efficiency in public expenditures show the importance of the earliest years of children, where the first 1,000 days in a child's life providing an unprecedented opportunity to support both physical and cognitive growth. Child benefits are an evidence-based and scalable policy that prevents poverty and supports child health, nutrition, and education outcomes. They can be progressively implemented, starting with programs such as the pregnancy voucher for pregnant and lactating women. The country needs to take urgent steps to strengthen foundational learning now as a core base of human capital development for its future socio-economic development. Evidence shows that as little as $10 to $15 can provide a child with remedial education and strengthen education systems to help ensure every child learns the critical foundational skills. Child rights must continue to be above every interest, including political. Child rights can only be achieved if every citizen upholds them and takes decisions and actions based on the best interest of the child. Sri Lanka has demonstrated its ability to be a champion for child rights. It now has a choice. Inaction is not one of them.
The south and central parts of Sri Lanka was listed among the top 24 best places to visit in 2024 by Condé Nast Traveller.
Condé Nast Traveller listed the south and central parts of Sri Lanka among the top 24 best places to visit in 2024. Condé Nast Traveller said, quote, "Rising from economic uncertainty, Sri Lanka's tourism industry is in the midst of a luxury and wellness boom, from its tea-filled highlands to its palm-fringed shores," unquote. It added in January the Galle Literary Festival will return after a 5-year hiatus, with appearances by literary figures such as Shehan Karunatilaka and Alexander McCall Smith, while Gourmet Galle, the country's new food festival, will spotlight 12 chefs in 12 venues, ranging from beaches to paddy fields over a 12-week period from January to March. The Condé Nast Traveller said inland development of the Peko Trail, a new nearly 200-mile network of hiking routes that snakes its way through Sri Lanka's highlands, continues. Traversing historic tea plantations, colonial estates, local villages, holy shrines and forests brimming with biodiversity, it's a novel way to experience Sri Lanka's lush hill country.
Day 51 of the second leg of the LOLC Divisavya program took place in the Ratnapura district.
The second leg of the LOLC Divisavya program will provide school books and stationery items to schools with less than 100 students. Students will be provided school books and stationery for a period of 1 year under the program. This Worth initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education. The LOLC Divisavya program took place at the Ambilipiti Education Zone in the Ratnapura district. School books and stationery items were given to the students at the Godakavela Yahalevela Vidyalaya, Varayaya Vidyalaya and Dambe Mada Vidyalaya. The LOLC Divisavya program will continue to create a bright future for the country's student population.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jayama Ratnayaka. Take care and good night.